Liverpool reject an approach from Real Madrid for Trent Alexander-Arnold in the last sort of 48 hours. Although saying that, just how much of an approach did Real Madrid make? Because some reports saying that they bid 20 million quid for it. We'll discuss that in just a second. His deal expires at Anfield in the summer. He is a target for Real Madrid. They've got some real problems, actually. Jamie Carragher is out for the rest of the season. He's got a cruciate ligament injury. They've had lots of defensive issues over the early part of the season, which sort of saw them initially fall off the pace in Spain. They've got back up there now, along with Madrid, Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. There's been a lot of noise on social media since our last show. Our last show was only New Year's Eve, and I think it's the 2nd of January now, about Trent himself and the possible departure to Real Madrid. I mean, first of all, give us the current situation, because it looks like, to me, a game of brinkmanship, and it's reached a crucial point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think when people report that Real Madrid have made an offer for Trent Alexander-Arnold, that suggests that they've put down some kind of transfer fee. That wasn't the case. They did, as I understand it, contact Liverpool and ask if they'd be willing to let him go in January. The answer was a pretty firm no, because, of course, they're competing for the Premier League title and very much in the hunt for the Champions League as well. I'm not even sure the player particularly wants to leave mid-season. I think if he does go, he'd like to go out in a blaze of glory and help his hometown club to silverware. But Real Madrid's situation is pressing, isn't it, as you mentioned, because of the injury to Jamie Carragher. The issue Liverpool have got is that we're now into January and Trent Alexander-Arnold is free to discuss a contract with Real Madrid. He could even sign a pre-contract agreement. And obviously...
Why is that such a dramatic thing?
Because I think Arne Slot's done well so far, that the outside noise, not just about Trent, but about Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, hasn't affected performances on the pitch. But I think inevitably, if you speak to ex-players, it will eventually. And obviously, it's given Liverpool a problem going into this weekend because of the reports that have come out in Spain. I think Real Madrid have been a little bit naughty in some ways. There are Liverpool fans who are unhappy with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I think the last thing they want...
Right? He hasn't said a single word. He's not told anybody that he wants to leave. He hasn't told Liverpool.
No, he hasn't.
Categorically, he has not told Liverpool that he wants to leave. And he certainly hasn't told them that he's signing a pre-contract agreement. Even if he does,
I don't think he's decided yet, by the way.
If he does sign a pre-contract agreement, he's been a servant at that football club since he was 7. And if he goes out winning the title, then fair enough. Can't you just leave it at that? I mean, this idea that he's going to get dog's abuse when he plays at Anfield, I don't see that happening. As I saw on the social media, I don't see it. I don't see it. Liverpool fans aren't like that. Liverpool fans aren't going to give him abuse because of that. A lot of it's on social media. I actually said to the producer, I'm not joking, I said, I wonder whether or not if Real Madrid have employed some sort of like social media bots to create loads of accounts that are giving him loads of stick so that he feels as if he's got to move in the January transfer window. I wonder if it's a negotiating tactic. I mean, honestly, I think, when you've been at a club since you were 7, you've won what he's won there. He's been the vice captain. As far as we know, he's not told anybody anything about what he wants to do next. So why would you want to give him dogs a bit? I actually think what they'll do on Sunday is they'll make him feel wonderfully welcome and try and convince him that this is the place for the future. He may end up staying and being the captain.
Yeah, I can see that. And actually, it's interesting you mentioned that captaincy point, because it has been suggested to me by a couple of sources that that's part of the conversation. He does want to be club captain. Of course, if Virgil van Dijk stays, as we expect him to, then that won't happen imminently. I thought Jamie Carragher's observation that Trent Alexander-Arnold is either going to be Steven Gerrard or he's going to be Steve McManaman was interesting. I get the comparison. But I do think Liverpool fans have short memories. They forget just how close Steven Gerrard was to joining Chelsea at one moment in time.
Yeah, that was during the Rafa era, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it was pretty much done, wasn't it,
yeah,
before a change of heart. So I actually don't think Trent leaving to join Real Madrid should damage his legacy with Liverpool fans, because there aren't many footballers who turned down the chance to go and play for that club.
03717223344. Give us a bit of perspective on this, right? I mean, obviously we're seeing a lot on social media where people were suggesting that the Liverpool fans are going to be really unhappy about him leaving if he decides to go at the end of the season. Is that really how you feel? Is it not sometimes a point where people do just move on? Like even Jurgen Klopp left. He said, it was last January that he was leaving, and by September he was in charge at RB Leipzig, or the Red Bull overlord of football. So tell us what you think about it. 03717223344. How well do you think Arne Slot is handling the whole situation?
I think brilliantly. He gets asked about it pretty much every pre-match press conference, every post-match press conference. But I think where you have to praise Liverpool and Trent, actually, to a certain extent, he's not done what Mo Salah has done and put comments in the public domain. They're trying to handle it discreetly, and that's why I think Real Madrid, with the story they clearly planted in Marca suggesting that Trent had told them he wants to go there, and by making a half bid for Trent on New Year's Eve, I think they've been a little bit mischievous with that.
Some reports saying they're going to come back again. They're so desperate to get him now that they might come back again with an actual proper bid.
I just don't see it happening.
To get it done in January.
Obviously, Liverpool have got Conor Bradley there.
I mean, they are in a bad situation, Real Madrid, in terms of defensive numbers. They've got a real issue. Lucas Vazquez is playing at right back at the moment. Danny Carvajal out for the season. They've had issues with Eder Militao. They've got a young kid playing at centre half. It's been a tough period for them, injury-wise.
And I mentioned they're languishing well down the table in the Champions League. So, they've got a necessity to get players in and to turn their season around. I think everybody felt when Mbappe went there, they would just dominate, not just Spain, but Europe as well. It hasn't quite happened. And clearly, Trent is their number one target. I wonder if Jude Bellingham and their friendship is playing a part in that as well. I think that will play a part in Trent's decision-making, because you know how it works with footballers. Jude will be in his ear saying, come and join me at the Bernabeu. It's a great place to play football. And it's 15 degrees there at the moment, by the way.
The other thing is that there is a point where he might want to go and try something completely different. He's in his mid-20s. He's been at Liverpool for a very long time. He might just want to change the scenery. He might want to go and experience life in Madrid with Jude Bellingham. 03717 22 3344. The one thing that Liverpool, I'm sure, don't want, in fact, Richard Hughes, who's the sporting director there, Michael Edwards, who is the overlord of football for the FSG group, will be trying to maintain this sort of serene atmosphere that has engulfed Liverpool over the course of the season. They don't want January to become the month where things get disrupted and then form takes a dip.
I think they've done really well to shut off that outside noise so far as a football club. And I mean, you mentioned Edwards and Hughes there. They're the guys that are getting the stick on social media for the fact they're three best players, arguably three of the best players in their positions in the world.
No one's left yet.
Are out of contract. No one has left yet.
They're top of the table.
And also, it's a situation that they inherited from the previous regime. I can't think of another top football club who would allow themselves to get in a scenario where three of their most important players are all coming to the end of their contracts at the same time.
I'm looking at the first 6 months of these guys being back at the club, and I'm thinking, well, you've done pretty well. You've hired Arne Slot. They did that, by the way, Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. Richard Hughes did a lot of the conversations, flying out to speak to Arne Slot. You've got your top of the table, top of the Champions League. It's not going too badly. I mean, it's okay. And there might be some change. Football clubs change. Personnel changes all the time, but I wonder what Liverpool fans really feel about Trent Alexander-Arnold. I can't believe I'm gonna what I'm seeing on social media is going to happen at the weekend.
That's not a reflection of what happened inside.
I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure it isn't. But I want people to make sure that I'm not going mad.
That's an interesting text you had in. What would happen if Liverpool play Madrid in the Champions League final and Trent has signed a pre-contract with Real? That could be a really interesting scenario come the end of the season.
03717 2233 is the number to call.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.